Want to know what your dog is thinking?
Have a challenging dog behavior you need help with?
The Dish on Dogs is your source for all your canine questions.
Improve your relationship with your dog and deepen your understanding of your furry friend. Right here on the Dish on Dogs. Welcome everyone to another exciting edition of the Dish on Dogs, or the Corey and Mike Show. We are having, I am in love. I never thought that this would happen so spontaneous. You know, we talk about just somebody comes into your life and unexplainable. So here it is. Corey is either the greatest actor in the world and he pretends to really enjoy what I'm saying about dogs, or as I said, he's an Academy Award-winning actor. So anyway, I'm Mike Gould, host of the Dish on Dogs. I'm also founder and CEO of Houndstown USA, home to the absolute happiest dogs on earth. We make dogs happy because we understand dogs. And that's the last 2 or 3 episodes we have in the past talked about dogs and how we don't understand them and they don't necessarily understand us. It's like a bad relationship, right? People aren't understanding each other because we're not communicating right. So in the past, we talked about how dogs see the world, our human world, because we've taken them away from nature and they haven't evolved as much. If you look at your dog, whether it's a Chihuahua or a Siberian Husky, and then you look at a wolf, they're far closer to their ancestors than they are to humans. They don't stand erect, they don't have this big human brain, and they don't have thumbs. So they're at a very susceptible disadvantage. They're very susceptible when we take them away from their natural pack. They were all born into a litter with 6, 8 other dogs, and that's how they're supposed to grow and develop in that pack. That's why they're born into packs. So they're social animals that require structure. Then we talked about how dogs see in pictures. They take odor, sight, and movement, and they make their decisions based on those 3 things. Odor, because they have this incredible sense of smell. They can smell things that we're oblivious to. They see things at night, as we talked about. They have great peripheral vision. They don't have high definition vision, nor do they have high color vision. And so they hearing, obviously they can hear things 20 times further away than we can hear. So they're distracted by it. So just think of that. If you had these abilities, you could never have a conversation because you would be hearing things 100 yards away. You'd be smelling things that are cooking in the kitchen, and you'd never be able to focus. So humans have developed with this human brain, we've developed something called inattentional blindness, meaning in order for us to survive as humans, in order for Corey, who I will introduce in a second, in order for him to do his work, he has to block out sounds and odors and sights in order for him to function. So some humans, like myself, sometimes have a difficult time doing that, right? So I'm distracted by sounds, or if a telephone pole's crooked, it's an anomaly in my world. So I completely lose focus if I hear noises. Anyway, joining me is the amazing, the one and only, the love of my life. I hate to tell this to Corinne. There's trouble brewing, Corinne. There's trouble brewing. So again, look, I make him laugh. Who wouldn't want to have somebody? I want to just give this man a big hug. But I can't because we're social distancing. So we talked about all kinds of things. His mom, I'm already meeting my new mother-in-law. She's called in. Tell her I'm coming home. What's her name? Adriana? Adrian, my future, hi mom, my future mother-in-law. She has some questions about, and the reason I'm excited because Jackie, she falls asleep when I start talking about dogs, and he will too. This is the honeymoon phase. It's the honeymoon phase, so he finds me interesting. Yeah. Anyway, so we talked about the last episode, dogs telling time. Yeah. You was explaining how Boomer knows when you're leaving. He gets all amped up, and when you come home, and there's this crazy ritual.
Right. So when we leave, we as humans, we're like, oh my God, we're so sorry we're leaving. We wanted to take you with us, but we can't. We feel bad knowing 10 minutes later he's going to be balled up sleeping on the couch like I don't give a shit. So we like to believe like, oh, well, he is
sad.
we don't want to think he's sad because it's like it kills us. So we try to think of like, I forget what she said something the other day. It was like she read something that it's like it's really them basically like being okay with you leaving, or like you're the leader. I don't know, I don't know if it's true or not, but it made me feel better. So I don't like, because his demeanor changes when we're about to leave, because he knows he's not coming with us.
Right. But again, right. So can I answer?
Yes, please. Yeah,
okay.
Please.
So going back to what we talk about, you've created this scenario. If you went in and out 20 times a day, started your car, came back in, went out, started your car, just this was your normal ritual, the dog wouldn't even lift his head off the ground.
Okay.
But you've created, when I say you created this whole emotional choreograph. We'll be back in a little while, Boomer. Don't be sad. Give Daddy a little hug and kiss. So you've aroused him.
Literally me.
Right. Yeah. So you've got him out of balance. So it's like tickling a child before you want him to go to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So you're getting him out of balance. It's fine. And you can change these things, actually. It's hard, but we've discussed it. It's so easy, it's hard to do.
Right.
So my guess is you're not going to do it, and most of our customers just can't do it.
It's hard, yeah.
Because we're creatures of our own habits of doing these things. But just another example. So dogs are so situational, and as we said, they connect dots. Sometimes people go away on vacation, and they go once or twice a year, but they only use one piece of luggage, let's say.
You told me this before.
Right.
Boomer has his own duffel bag.
Right. Okay, I was talking about the humans, but I know you're a very proud father.
But you told me, you said when he sees me getting that bag ready, he knows something's happening.
Right. But conversely, when he sees the human take their luggage, so to you it's benign. And then we think, wow, how does this dog know we're going on vacation? How does he know this? He only gets this way, whether it's happy or sad, or it looks like happy. How does he know it? But it's the simple act of you reaching up to take this suitcase that you're going to pack and disappear. So that's all they know.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so it's weird, and we talked about this. Their focus of their life, Boomer's focus is you. There's no other pack members. There's nothing but you and Corinne and your thumbs and your ability to stand erect, that they are impossible to do. But anyway, so we talked about that. We talked about how dogs have these extrasensory perceptions in the truest sense of the words, that it's almost impossible for us to understand, because we don't live 18 inches off the ground. We can't smell the ingredients in the stew. I can't hear 3 houses away, and I can't see at night.
Right.
So
that's crazy. Okay.
That's crazy. So your mother has questions. I wanted to give a story about going through this to highlight that.
Right. So let's start with your story then, because that will kind of segue into the vision, the senses, and all that stuff. So tell me the story about driving through the cemetery.
Driving through the cemetery. So again, my experience is based on, or my knowledge is based on my experience, not from study.
First-hand experience.
First-hand experience from observing dogs, because that's what I've been fascinated by for the past 40 years, particularly my experience in the police department. So I don't have a PhD in animal behavior. I don't read books or studies, none of those things. So I formulated all my thoughts, and they've been actually validated by science, so that was kind of a relief to me, because I never read the books first. I've made my observations, and then every once in a while I'll be able to read an article that'll validate what I'm saying. Now with Google, everybody can fact check me, so I can't bullshit people anymore. I used to be able to just make shit up, and people
and it worked out.
Have to go look at an encyclopedia about dogs.
Yeah.
So now they just, as I talk, they can Google, so feel free. So here it is. So dogs see in pictures. They take sound, odor, movement. So back in the 80s, the cemeteries in New York, just vandalism. And there was also cults, satanic cults and stuff. Not there's anything wrong with you satanic cults out there. I mean, don't know.
We're a cult.
Yeah, right. We're a cult, Houndstown cult. So, but we don't.
Nonviolent.
So I'm driving in this cemetery, and I'm not a big fan of cemeteries. It's because I'm not a satanic worshiper. So I just, anyway, part of my job with my police dog was to drive through the cemeteries at night, because there was a lot of vandalism. Kids would hang out and whatever. They'd vandalize headstones and so forth. In these particular cemeteries, there's these mausoleums, these big, what would you call it?
Like little sheds, basically.
Basically, right. So I'm driving this particular night. My dog's in the back, and of course he's sleeping, because, as I said, they tell time by anomalies in their world, and we would work nights. So this answers your question before. So my dog slept all day long, and we worked at night. So they adapt to what we do, and they tell time by our activities. So I'm driving through the cemetery. The fog was so heavy, I could only see maybe 25, 30 feet ahead of me. And I'm not I'm by myself, so, I don't have a human partner to really discuss things or tactics.
Tell them that you're scared.
Right, I'm scared. So as we're driving, and I'm going slow. There's small paths going through the center. I'm going 5-10 miles an hour. All of a sudden, the dog starts with a really low, and I'm like, I know that there's a reason for everything. He just doesn't decide to start growling like that. So I'm like, oh boy. And then I'm moving forward at 5 or 10 miles an hour. Sometimes I'll tell the dog to shut up because he's scaring me. So it's like a kid. So I'm like, shut up. You're scaring the shit out of me. Yeah. So then it goes, rah, 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 rah. And then you talked about in one of the other episodes, his hackles are coming up. I can't see anything.
Because of the fog.
Of course of the fog. His hackles are up. And he's growling, and I know, as I said to you, they're barking for a reason. So if your dog barks at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's a reason. It's up to the human brain to decipher what they're barking at. They can't make that analytical judgment, and they can't tell you like a human can.
Right.
Here it is. He's barking crazy, and as I move forward, driving forward, I see this human being. I think it is, but now I'm questioning myself.
Yeah, you're in a cemetery.
I'm in a cemetery at 2 o'clock in the morning. So this person is walking away from me, and he has a bag in his hand. And I am freaking out because if this same person just committed a robbery on the street, I'd have no problem with that. Right. But I'm seeing things in the cemetery, so my mind is seeing pictures, right? I'm starting to get a little out of balance. So as I get closer, the dog is barking now. As I can see that it's a person walking away in a long black coat, and he has a bag in his hand. So I feel actually a little better now because at least I know what it's I think human, but again, my mind is playing tricks. I hope it's human. Right. So anyway, I take my dog out. I'm able to take my dog out, hold this bird. I wouldn't get out of the car, particularly under this circumstance, without my dog. So he's trained to hold suspects at bay. Which that's what but he's not trained to hold ghosts at bay. So I didn't know how this was going to work out. So make a long story short, I stopped this person. In the bag is a skull, a human skull that he had broken into a mausoleum and stole for some type of ritual reasons, which of course is horrible when you think about it. Right. But my point was, my dog alerted me to this person before any of my senses could determine it. And that's what makes dogs such an amazing tool for law enforcement and for humans at home. Right. And they're not special dogs. Your Boomer would have done the same thing. Right. It's not like he went to a training academy to detect people walking in cemeteries. Right. Boomer would have done the same exact thing. Right. And then it's up to the brain, human, to decipher what it was. That's my cemetery story.
That actually now sparked. What time? Are we good on time? We're good. Yeah. So that makes me think is when you keep saying, if Boomer is barking at 2 o'clock in the morning, he's barking at something, which now scares me. But it could be something happening 3 houses down or whatever. But my question is, this happens a lot to me. Sometimes I wake up at like 3:30 on the dot, right? So I kind of believe in a little bit of a cemetery paranormal-ish kind of situation.
Me too.
Do dogs, because there's always this thing I always hear that do animals and dogs, particularly dogs, cats, have a sixth sense in that way? To where they can detect certain things that aren't paranormal. Is that true or is that BS?
I can't answer that about humans. I think humans do. Certain humans can. But I mean, that's a subject for
well, obviously for not this podcast.
I do. It certainly makes sense that it appears that way because, as I said, they can if they can detect an odor coming from your body. If you have diabetes and they start barking at you, the problem is, how do we interpret? What are we interpreting? Okay. So if you want to believe that, sometimes I believe in all that. By the way, of all of that paranormal, I think there's spirits all over the place. That's my own belief, but there's no scientific evidence of that. Sure. And I have nothing to I have nothing to prove that to you. I can't take a picture of something I saw.
So the same way we can't prove that dogs can't whether they're colorblind or not, or they don't have emotion. We can't prove those things. We can't prove a sixth sense type thing either.
Definitely not a sixth sense, but emotions we can kind of prove. I mean, we got a better sense of it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was just curious so it's not a ghost that's hanging out in my
It may
room.
be, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean it's good or bad. That's your interpretation of whether it's bad. I don't want to. This is
all right.
a
Yeah.
subject.
Let's go. I'm sorry. Well, yeah.
I won't tell you about how I
all right. Well, next time on the Mike and Corey show, we'll talk.
Yeah, we'll do it when it's a Mike and Corey show. We'll talk about spirits and channeling the spirits. We're all good, by the way. No bad spirits.
So my mom had a bunch of questions, but one
mother-in-law.
Your mother-in-law had a bunch of questions. So one of them was the red and pink Kong ball. So she had this little small Kong ball that her dog Cooper, shout out to Cooper, not the human Cooper,
right?
Really loves to play with, and he wouldn't play with the big Kong ball because the little Kong ball is not his; it's his sister's. So,
which is really not true. It's yours. So those things, but we'll talk about save that for another day.
So my mom gets him a big pink one,
right?
Thinking, oh well, maybe it's the size and it's not whatever. So he loves the big pink one. Fine, he loves it, and he won't touch the red one. So. I know it's a color thing, but pink and red are kind of close on the spectrum anyway. So why won't he play with the red one? He wants nothing to do with it.
Right. So a couple of things I would say to myself just thinking about that. One, he might have experienced something so subtle and nuanced with the red ball than he did with the bigger ball. Maybe he just did that. But again, this would not be on your radar screen. What if the little ball was on hot concrete when he went to pick it up?
Okay.
So he had a stimulation that's one explanation. The way I would really try to find out is withhold all these things. So we give away, I'm assuming your house is like my customer's house. When I walk in the house, there's no question who owns the house.
100%.
There's dog toys, there's
beds,
squeaky toys, beds. So what I do is withhold those things because we're so generous. That's the other thing. You want to make them happy. So I'm guessing if it was only the little ball, if he didn't have the choice, I would wait and give it a little time to see if it really is something that he is, or he just prefers one thing over the other.
Right.
So, obviously, there's, we prefer different things over other things. We have a particular sense of taste and so forth. But if it was look at little children. There's toys all over the house, and then they end up playing with the box.
Right.
And then we say, they don't like this. So I think we're putting a lot of human analysis on it. But my curiosity would be just that: take everything away. And every once in a while, take his red ball out of a cabinet and throw it with him for 5 minutes and then take it away again. My guess is he's going to develop, and that's basically how we train law enforcement dogs to find things. It's a toy associated with the odor. They're not really finding dead bodies.
Right.
Or they're not finding bombs. They'd never go to work, right? If they actually had the brains to think that we're deploying them to look for bombs.
Right.
It's the association of the odor and their toy, whether it's a tug toy, a ball. So, but of course, police dogs, we don't give them we don't go to Petco and buy them 1,000.
Right.
Because it's important they make that association. The red ball
versus,
that's their focus. That's their world, is the red ball.
Right. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It's hard. A lot of this stuff is hard to discuss.
It's hard to explain.
Right.
Right. Okay. All right. So, how do you calm a hyper dog? So she's tried medication, not working, CBD chews, Benadryl, hemp thingies. I don't know what that is.
I do.
So she said, I know it's her breed, which Jack Russell Terrier, classic, like just off the wall. Yeah. So why? Like, how do you? Like, is that even true? Where like it's I hear people all the time when I talk to customers at Houndstown. They're like, I'll interview someone and they'll talk about like. Doberman or some sort of breed, like, that's why he's so happy, or it's because it's breed. Right. It's like, is that BS?
It's a great question, and I hope we can take 5 minutes to give my version.
Go ahead.
So, of course, there's genetic predispositions. We bred dogs, but all dogs, your dog at home is a mutt. I don't care if you paid $5,000 from the best breeding, but they're mutations of a wolf. Plain and simple, mutt mutation. They've been mutated down, and of course,
that's what mutt means.
Yeah. I think so. You can Google it. I don't know. It's my version. It's a mutation.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. It's a mutt, a mutation.
Got it.
It's a genetic mutation, right? So I could describe myself as a mutt. I'm European. I'm a little of this, a little of that. But what the hell were we saying? Ask me that question about
ADD and
Okay,
ADD.
so breed discrimination. So we are proud of the fact
Right.
that I've never breed discriminated in anything that I've ever done related to dogs, and particularly in Houndstown.
Right.
That doesn't mean we don't take a genetic predisposition. As you said, a Jack Russell Terrier has been mutated down to do something. All dogs have been mutated down. Wolves are of no value to us. So we needed to make a wolf into something that's useful for humans.
Right.
So all of pit bulls, for example, okay, let's think of the bully breeds: pit bulls, Doberman pinchers, German shepherds. These are all by many of your insurance companies considered bully breeds. And up until about 2 or 3 years ago, our competitors wouldn't allow them to even come.
Right.
They wouldn't allow your dog, your German Shepherd, your Rottweiler, your Doberman not to come and interact with other dogs, which is ludicrous on its face. It's like saying I have an Irish child. He may be a little bit of a heavy drinker later on in life.
Right.
Keep an eye on him.
Right.
And it may be true. He may have a genetic predisposition for addiction, but it's a stereotype. So we take breeds. So Mom, my mother-in-law, is thinking about this little Jack Russell Terrier, and she's saying you can't get the exercise out of him. My question, most frequently, humans don't understand the level of exercise a dog actually needs, because we may not. I get up off the couch, I go make a cup of coffee, and I go on the couch, I'm shot. If I got to go out for the mail, forget about it. I'm like, I wish there's somebody that can do this for us. So, but dogs, particularly a Jack Russell Terrier, so if we talk about the breed, genetically, he needs a lot of exercise, I'm definitely not a fan of medication. And the good thing is, Mom has already highlighted the fact it doesn't work.
Right.
So when I have dogs coming to Houndstown for my behavioral work, and they're on meds, the first thing I do is take them off the meds completely. And I've never seen an example, vets might disagree, I've never seen any example that I couldn't holistically fix the problem without meds. So the simple question. And then we talked about the herding instincts and all. They have genetic predisposition.
Yeah.
Pit bulls, Rottweilers, those dogs were trained for protection work of wherever, 100,000, whenever. So we do have to take that into consideration. But we always are the leader of the dog, so it really doesn't matter. A police dog, just doesn't go out at night and catch criminals. It doesn't. Yeah. Like that one, bro. We like that. So. This is what I love about. What's your sign, man?
Taurus.
Aries. Yeah, that's why. Okay. All right. I don't want this day to end. So anyway, what were we saying? That
Okay. So you were talking about no medication. So Mom, just take him to doggy daycare. When we open up one in Delaware, you should go there. If not, I'm not going to tell you to go to Camp Bauer or Dogtopia.
No.
100%.
But do this instead. Just go to an enclosed area, whether it's a tennis court or whatever. Sit down, throw a ball, do something that the dog runs till he's exhausted. He'll tell you when the time is enough. The dog will train you. But you have to be outside or somewhere. You don't even have to be outside, but you have to sit on the floor. I'm assuming he likes to chase something, a ball. Yeah. Just throw it till he's tired.
Okay. All right. Good.
Simple.
Right. Simple. Right.
I think it's simple.
And then the last thing is the herding. How she wants to stop the herding, even though it seems like it's a natural thing for the Jack Russell Terrier to do. So I've had dogs in the past where you'll walk and then they'll just like circle you and try to herd you. So how do you deal with that?
So it goes back to the same thing. I was just watching a dog show on television just yesterday, and they were describing each breed and how they're friendly with children. It makes a great family dog, and it's all nonsensical when you think about it. Because again, it would be like highlighting Muslims, Irish, German, different religions, and saying they have a propensity to be good humans or bad humans. So that's fundamentally wrong. The beauty of a dog is they don't have those types of things.
Right.
But they have these propensities. All of them are. Dogs are herding dogs. Some are bred more for herding, right? Cattle dogs and so forth. So they all have. German Shepherds are herding dogs. And I used to have a dog, actually, when I go back 40 years, and he would, instead of training them to hold on to a person's arm, he was always going for their ankles. And it was a little confusing to me because it was hard to teach them to. Anyway, make a long story short, just because a dog has these instincts, if you're always the leader of the pack, which in this case it's not, because we're coming up with ideas rather than fixing the problem, we're rationalizing the problem.
Right.
Does that make sense? So
Yes.
mom's dog is a herding dog. Most all dogs have some kind of herding instinct. That's how they play with their pack. So they
Right.
don't have to be specifically bred for that.
Right.
They're herding by nature. So you have to be able to say, stop. And the dog stops. It's not an appropriate time. We
Right.
do it with 2-year-old children.
Right.
So you say, I got this kid and he just wants to stay up all night and play. What should I do about it?
Right.
You would never ask that question, I don't think.
No, right. Well, she's very much like me. This is where I get it from too. Where she's very you're coming into the family, so you got to get ready.
Well, that's it. This is a deal breaker. Unfortunately, perfect timing. It's the end of this episode. The last time this guy's going to be on the show. I thought I was in love 30 minutes ago, but again, unlike dogs, my love is ambiguous. I'll find somebody else. All right. So that was good. I think we hit a lot of good things.
I think so.
No, but in the truth
I learned a lot.
You're very sincere, and you are anthropomorphic, but all of our customers are. And again, I'm just giving a different perspective. And I'm not saying to do what I say, just try to just understand things so you're not confused and takes the guilt off of you.
Right. I do that a lot. I'm like, oh, I'm such a piece of shit because I didn't do this or I didn't do that.
And most humans do.
I agree. Well, will you agree when you come to Gaithersburg to open up Rich that you'll come to the house and help with Boomer?
Just let that little run. Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to get it on video. Like you said,
Please.
if you guys look at our YouTube channels, we got some good examples of all of these things. Knock on the door, dog goes ballistic. 2 minutes later, knock on the door, and the dog.
Right.
And again, it's not because I have some spiritual connection to dogs. I'm dumb, so I'm on the same level as the dogs.
Right.
And
Yeah. Because I want to. Because Boomer's passed his temp test, and then he's failed his temp test.
Right.
I want to. When Gaithersburg opens, I want to take him there a couple days a week.
Yes.
And not feel at home like, oh my God, is he going to kill another dog?
Right.
So I want to.
Yes, absolutely. That's a promise.
All right, cool. All right.
So, sign us off. I don't know how to do that.
Every Monday at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live, you can catch the Dish on Dogs podcast with Mike, the mayor. On YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like our channel, the Dish on Dogs podcast. And every audible visual platform out there, we're on Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, all that jazz.
I love you, man.
See ya.
See you.
Bye.